Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services, including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various legal issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices in Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning.
Tom, we've been talking about the role of the elder law attorney. The fact is that they are different than estate planners, principally focused on lifetime issues, not death issues, although we do write wills. The fact is that most people really need to be more concerned about how they're going to take care of themselves. And our role is to consult with families. You know, the driver that is the most important document in this process is not the will in most instances, it's the power of attorney.
Right, the power of attorney is a big tool for navigating the financial, the medical, the insurance, the housing worlds. And without it, you really are stuck.
And what we see here is whether it be practitioners, whether you took it off the internet, you got it off a software package, as these documents are not being done by people who understand the need to be able to protect yourself from Medicaid.
Well, exactly. And so if you don't understand that whole world of long-term care, you might not recognize the need to have important language in your documents that allow you to navigate that world.
And so we see these documents done by estate planners. We see them worrying about issues that we just think are not worth worrying about. You will see language in a power of attorney. A layperson wouldn't realize what that language is, but many times it's saying that you cannot make a gift in excess of $14,000. Well, the reality between husband and wife, we're going to transfer everything to the healthy spouse, and that is a limitation that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly, and so that goes back to some of the language in some of the federal, state, and gift tax rules. But even that's a misunderstanding of those rules.
When you pass $5.5 million for federal purposes and for state of Pennsylvania purposes, virtually nobody in our viewing audience needs to be worried about tax issues in terms of gifts.
Right. So the point of the story is you need to have the right language in there for the bigger issue, which is the Medicaid and asset protection world.
And then you'll see these powers of attorney that are written by lawyers or off the internet or whatever that says you can't make gifts to the agent. Now that means you can't make gifts to the power of attorney. Well, most powers of attorney have husband and wife in the first instance,
exactly right.
And we need to be able to make transfers to the healthy spouse.
Well, exactly. You can't gift to the spouse, you can't gift to the child, you can't commingle things. What does that mean? You can't have a joint marital account. I mean, it gets to be a little silly if you're following it to the nth degree.
And the reality is that most of these people have no idea, you know, what these provisions actually said. I saw a power of attorney done recently that it made reference to a Maryland Code section. And I scratched my head and said, I don't know what that means. Well, the reason I didn't know what it means is I looked up the Maryland Code. It's a non-existent section.
Yeah, I mean, you just see silly things like that. And these things change all the time. And so, you know, what you see on the internet usually is not in line with what's reality.
Well, I look at people and I say, you should be able to read that document. You should be able to tell me what each and every paragraph in that document means. And the plain fact of the matter is most people have no idea what any of that stuff means.
Yeah, and it references other things that have greater explanations. And so you got to have the right language in there even to tie those two things together.
Well, most importantly, the Pennsylvania Power of Attorney form makes references to Pennsylvania Code sections, not actually in the document, so you don't even know what that actually means.
Right, and if you look up the code sections, they talk about hot powers, things that if it says this, it's got to say that, and all this stuff that's got to be right.
You know, so when I do a power of attorney that you've perhaps drafted for our office for purposes of a person that owns real estate both in Maryland and Pennsylvania, we actually want 2 powers of attorney, one for Pennsylvania property, one for Maryland property.
Right.
And I look at that document you prepared and I said, Tom, you need to tell me it's okay, because even I as an elder law attorney have no idea what those code sections are.
You're right, and you know, I wouldn't presume to know what Maryland, West Virginia, or any place other than Pennsylvania is and says, and so that's how specific this stuff has to be.
And so we're oftentimes looking, if you're in Maryland today, if you don't have that new Maryland statutory forms that's done since 2010, it's going to be virtually impossible to sell real estate using a power of attorney. And Pennsylvania has just shuffled the deck on powers of attorney over and over again in the last 15 years or so, and we would never attempt to use a document in Pennsylvania that didn't comply with the Pennsylvania statute.
It's just too risky, and so you're right. You know, they keep playing with the rules, so people need to know that they need to keep keeping up. They need to revise their documents, keep it current, so they don't run into roadblocks.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Douglas A. Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to the special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Paul Sweeney, President of Quality First Insurance Agency. Welcome, Shu.
Good morning, Mike.
Paul, one of the things we always want to talk about is, there's a lot of different insurance agencies out there. Some are selling homeowners and auto policies, life insurance, disability. But your agency for the last 25 years has been focused primarily on one issue.
Well, senior insurance products, supplemental insurances to Medicare, and long-term care insurance.
Obviously a few other little things, but that's really the driver. And so one of the things I tell clients every day when I talk to them, I say, well, you know a lot about this stuff. I say, everything I know about this stuff I learned from Paul Sweeney.
Well, thanks for saying that.
So in any event, so as we talk about this, this is not a sideline. This is something that you do.
We've been doing it for a really long time, and we understand that it is a confusing type of insurance, and our clients, our customers, need to have somebody that can tell them exactly how the programs are going to work.
And it doesn't matter which one of them is, but one of the great confusions we have is with long-term care insurance. And I have people come into my office, a person is now diagnosed with some sort of an affliction, and they say, well, can I go get long-term care insurance now?
Probably not. Long-term care insurance is something you have to plan for ahead of time, and it is medically underwritten, which means that it's going to be based on what your health is like. So it's something you have to plan for well ahead of time.
And for most middle-class families, if you've waited until your 60s to start looking at the policies, it's basically cost prohibitive.
Yeah, and not only that, most people in their 60s do have some sort of medical issue. It's not going to stop you from getting coverage, but many times it might cause the premiums to be a little bit higher.
So the premiums are always cheaper the earlier you buy it, and as we oftentimes tell people, not only is it cheaper the earlier you buy it, you're probably in better health. The insurance company doesn't know what's wrong with you yet.
Right, and you can spread the cost out over a longer period of time. Most people don't go into claim or don't really need a long-term care policy until they generally get up into their 80s.
Well, but you need to buy that policy. Ideally, we would have them buy it in their 40s. Most people are paying for kids' educations then. It's not realistic. But as they begin to focus on retirement in the mid-50s, that is really prime time to get that thing purchased if you're ever going to be able to buy it.
Absolutely. It's going to be more affordable at that time. It's going to be more attainable at that time. And it's going to really do a good job for you if you ever need it. And I can tell you, We have many clients that are in their 80s, and I would venture a guess that probably close to 50% of them are going to need some sort of long-term care. And a lot of people, when they're younger, aren't even thinking about that. So.
Well, you know, of course, everybody says, I'm never going to a nursing home. As I say somewhat tongue-in-cheek, the nursing home's full of people who said they weren't going to a nursing home. So.
Right, but long-term care isn't just nursing homes. It's also getting care at home. It's also something called assisted living that's popped up over the last few years. So, and most people want to try to stay out of the nursing home, and will do everything they can to do that. So if you have coverage that will allow you to maybe stay at home, you know, and help pay for that care at home, that can actually, you know, delay somebody going to a nursing home.
And in-home care can be twice as expensive as a nursing home. Now, one of the challenges that we've had here we want to mention is, first of all, we have a number of clients that are having some difficulty getting claims filed.
Well, I think it's probably because they don't really understand how their policies work. Most people think of long-term care policies as nursing home policies. But most policies or most contracts have wording in it that allows the policy to pay for things other than nursing home care.
Because today an assisted living facility is the same as what was defined as a nursing home 20 years ago.
That's part of it. And insurance companies, believe it or not, will allow sometimes benefits to be paid for alternative types of care. For example, even though you might have a policy that says specifically it's designed to pay for nursing home care, if there's something called an alternative care rider, and it's very common to see an alternative care rider in the policy, that will allow the policy to pay for care at home if it would prevent that person from going into the nursing facility.
And, you know, it's a business, and of course they may negotiate with you on some other stuff, but the key is many times we have people look at their policy and think it will not cover for anything other than a nursing home, and many times there are other types of coverage even under that policy.
We see it all the time, you know, and I see people that are actually getting care at home, struggling to pay for it, and they have a long-term care policy, and I'll make the suggestion, you know, why don't we see if the insurance company would consider paying for this? You might be surprised.
Now, one of the other things we talk to people about is we have people canceling these policies late in life. I just go crazy over it because many times they're saying, well, I would have to take money out of my savings account to pay it. Well, the reality is the savings account is going to be used to pay their long-term care, and they've given up all the benefit of having paid those premiums for a lot of years.
Yeah, the cost of long-term care in nursing home right now in this area is averaging close to $10,000 a month. So if somebody's planning on using their savings to pay for that instead of a long-term care policy, they're going to go through their savings very, very quickly. And if you balance what the premium is on a long-term care policy compared to what the benefits are going to be, it's a no-brainer. You should keep the long-term care coverage.
And we're seeing none of these people agreeing to reduce their coverage, which also makes absolutely no sense.
I agree. Some people, when they make that decision, are sometimes making the wrong decision. Many times there's 4 or 5 different options that they're being presented with. They don't understand what those options are. And it's a good idea to maybe have somebody review it before you make any changes.
Which you're glad to do.
Absolutely.
No matter whether you're a customer or not.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Paul, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Come on, Dad, let's go! We're gonna be late! Hurry!
Just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com. If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Christina Forbes, Program Director, Daybreak of Frederick. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Adult daycare, it's a concept that many people are not familiar with, and the goal of adult daycare is to help people still be able to stay independent with their families. What the heck does that mean?
Absolutely. So adult daycare gives folks a place to come to during the day. Maybe their family's at work, or maybe their family just needs a rest. And really, who among us doesn't need time away from our family and our spouse? That's healthy for any relationship. They come to the center, they get the support and assistance they need, they have a great time, and then they're able to go back home and sleep in their own bed at night.
One of the challenges that we find, particularly when we have family members serving as caregivers, is it is just an all-encompassing job. It just dominates their lives.
Absolutely, and I don't think the average person can fully appreciate what a caregiver goes through day in and day out. We try to understand that, and we really try to support our families, not only with the respite care that comes with their loved one being with us during the day, but lots of support emotionally, education, helping them connect with other resources, really trying to keep them uplifted so they can keep doing what they're doing.
And the problem with the person that needs adult daycare is it's not like a baby where you can put them in a playpen and sort of turn your back a little bit. These people are many times fully mobile, perfectly capable of inadvertently getting into trouble.
Sometimes that's absolutely the case. In our center, it's fully secure so no one can wander away. Many of our folks do have memory problems, but not all of them. But you're right, we have plenty of staff, and our goal is to keep people engaged and active so they're doing fun things that are keeping their brains and body active and not getting into things that could be dangerous.
All right, we're going to bring up some pictures here, but as we bring up the pictures, you know, obviously this is a nice outside day that day.
Absolutely. So the point of the pictures is truly people are having a good time at Daybreak. In this clip, folks are out having ice cream. We do field trips into the community at least 10 or so times a month, out for lunch, out for picnics. Ice cream certainly very popular. Here's a photo of folks dancing. This is one of our staff members and one of our participants, and we always say we don't let physical or memory problems get in the way of having a good time.
Let's talk about what a day might look like.
Absolutely. So one of the great features of our adult daycare center is transportation. We are able to pick folks up in the morning, bring them in, and bring them back home. When they arrive, we have breakfast available.
Well, let's back up just a minute. Now that transportation, I noticed some people in wheelchairs. Any challenges along those?
All of our buses are handicap accessible. Our drivers are able to go right to the door to help someone out and get them safely on the bus and get them safely back in the house at the end of the day.
So the day begins with a ride.
It does, and for many of our folks, it's a great way to get out of the house and see the country again.
And then what?
When they arrive, we have breakfast available, and our staff are supporting them. Everyone who comes to Daybreak has a different need, and our staff know who needs help, who can do for themselves, and we try to layer on that support, hopefully without people even realizing it.
Now that meal that they're being fed, I assume dietary concerns are being managed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a dietitian that approves all of our menus. Our staff, again, are well trained to know who can have what, whether they have allergies or even particular likes or dislikes. We're very sensitive to that.
What about the medications during the course of the day?
We're very lucky to have 2 registered nurses at our center every day, and they're able to administer medications. They do blood sugar checks, sliding scale insulin, basic wound care, breathing treatments, hangnail. They do everything.
So there's no reason to not go. If you can be at home independent, then you can be at Daybreak independent.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we have breakfast. What's next?
Activities get started. And
Only one activity?
Absolutely not. So we're very lucky to have a beautiful space. It's a large center. We try to offer 2 to 3 activities at each time slot so people can pick and choose. There's also lots of room for people to spread out and do their own thing, whether it's a puzzle or crocheting, reading a book, or even taking a nap.
And then I assume lunch comes into play then.
Absolutely. We do what we like to eat, and eating is important. And eating together with other people certainly helps people eat better when they're able to socialize and have some fun as well.
And of course, transportation back. Now, I know that people are concerned about being able to manage costs. You're not-for-profit, and your commitment is to try to help people figure out how to deal with it.
Absolutely, Michael. So we do, some insurances do pay for adult medical daycare. Not all, it's not the norm. But we have grant funding that allows us to do sliding scale. We try very hard not to turn someone away for inability to pay. And I always say, don't let the cost keep you from calling at least call and get the information.
And of course, the last piece is everybody says my loved one won't do this.
I hear that a lot, and I meet a lot of grumpy people who don't think they want anything to do with it, but truly it doesn't take more than a visit with us, and then we invite them to come in for a free day just to try it, and most people are hooked from the get-go. It's a very joyful place. There's a lot of good energy there.
Christina, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on our program.
Thank you, Michael.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
The Community Foundation has helped create signs of community strength for more than 30 years. Scholarships assist with post-secondary education, and grants support programs throughout Frederick County. Making a big impact. Because of generous donors like you. Add your sign of community strength by creating a fund that supports the causes you care about.
Albright Crumbacker Mal and Idtel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services, including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today, Sandra Miller, Senior Vice President, the Family Heritage Trust Company. Welcome to the show, Sandy.
Thanks for inviting me.
Sandy, we're doing a little sequence of programs here on embedded risk. And many times when people make certain styles of investment, it's obvious from the investment they were trying to avoid risk. So the classic is CDs. You know, I want insurance from the federal government that I am not going to lose my money. And yet we're seeing some major money center banks right now actually imposing risk on a CD. How in the world could that happen?
Well, the banks are now starting to charge early withdrawal penalties, which in the past did not exist. So when you put your money in a CD, you were guaranteed to get your principal back, but the bank might take some of the interest as a penalty. Now they're actually charging 1% of the total value of the CD. So in fact, you may not get all of your principal back.
So we recently had a case where a person had to cash in because his spouse was in a nursing home, $250,000 in CDs, and a regional bank here charged him $7,500 in order to cash in those CDs in order to be able to deal with his spouse's long-term care issue.
Well, that in itself is amazing because banks normally, in the past, as I mentioned, don't charge against your principal. They just keep the interest.
So you need to be paying attention, and even some of the most traditionally safe investments are now having risk embedded in them. We see people using a fixed annuity for 5 years as an alternative to a CD. Sometimes that can make some sense. It's not insured by the federal government, it's insured by an insurance company. But once again, if you had to cash that thing in early, you had an unanticipated expense, like a spouse being in assisted living or a nursing home, many of those fixed annuities are going to have substantial early withdrawal charges.
Yes, and the term of those early withdrawals charges can be as long as 15 years. So in order to get your money back without penalty, you won't be able to take it all out at once, or you'll only be able to take a certain piece out every year without that penalty, or with a penalty, but without taxes.
And one of the things is that you will see the differentiation in these products that are being sold as guaranteed. It will show you contract value, and contract value means that's the value of it assuming you don't change anything. But normally on that page somewhere you will see a surrender value. And that surrender value, when you're in the penalty period, will be significantly less than the contract value, and in many instances it can be significantly less than the actual money that you invested in.
That's correct, because these penalty percentages that would be deducted can range anywhere from 5 to 7 or even higher percent. So when you go to take your money out, they take that off the top and give you what's left, and it could be significantly less than what you actually invested.
And then one of the other risks that we see is oftentimes I'll ask a person who you can tell by just looking at their life circumstance, they're very conservative. And I ask that person, do you invest in stocks? And what do they typically say?
Oh, they always say, oh no, I would never invest in stocks. But then they have to look at what they really are invested in.
And you look at those annuities and they're loaded up with stocks. And many times at an asset ratio that you would never consider if you were actually managing the stocks, being 100% stock.
That's right. And a lot of these annuities claim to get a high rate of return or a high rate of interest through the investments in the stock market. And if you're not aware that that's what the underlying investments are as to how you're getting that return, you're not doing your homework.
Well, and I've seen annuities that I'm mind-boggled. You know, the market has had major increases in the last 5 years, and I'm seeing 5-year-old annuities and the person's made nothing.
That's correct, and you have to be aware of what is it that they're really investing in, because you need a diverse portfolio to participate in a full rise in the stock market. But annuities are insurance companies, and they do insurance well, but they don't do investments very well.
Well, at least for their own benefit anyway.
That's
they do.
true.
And so, you know, oftentimes as I look at this stuff and I look at an annuity like that that's had no gain in value, I'll have people say, well, at least I haven't lost any money. And I look, well, actually you did lose money because it should have been appropriately invested. You would have made money in that period. And an opportunity loss is just the same as not having lost money itself.
Well, that's true, but they are actually, when they signed the contract, they lost money because there is a significant commission charge that comes right off the top when you enter into an annuity contract. So,
and you're not fully invested because of that.
That's correct.
Sandy, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.